In the world of sumo wrestling, there are no weight classes. The top wrestlers of the sumo world are given the legendary title of Yokozuna. In this brutal sport dominated by bulky, powerful men, one short yet fearsome boy prepares to take the world by storm. However, before any of this, a young boy named Hinomaru is riding a subway train to his school. He notices a weird guy creeping on a girl, so he grabs him and calls the police. Unfortunately, the police are more interested in the young boy's sumo belt and exposed legs, so they drag him away instead of punishing the offender. Eventually, Hinomaru makes his way to his school. His friend gave him a map that looked like a child's scribbles, so he blindly followed the way to his school. Hinomaru gets excited that the new school has a sumo ring and asks the sumo captain to fight him. The captain agrees, not thinking much about Hinomaru, but once Hinomaru takes off his clothes to wrestle, he sees his muscular body and scars. The fat kid named Osuke tries wrestling Hinomaru, but gets easily thrown to the ground. Hinomaru offers to join the sumo club as a new student, overjoying Osuke. However, some bullies gang up on them, annoyed by the racket. Hinomaru finds out that these bullies are occupying the school dojo and dirtying it with their activities. One of the thugs attacks Hinomaru, but he brings him to his knees. The leader of the thugs, Yuma, then comes out, looking for a fight. Hinomaru invites him to try sumo, but Yuma thinks it's some useless sport where fat men hug each other. As the thugs laugh at Hinomaru, Osuke drags him away, not wanting to start a fight. Hinomaru is disappointed that the Ishigami High School has such a bad sumo scene, but is shocked to learn that he is actually at Odachi High. He praises Osuke for his passion for sumo and leaves to find his new school, only to end up back at Odachi. Hinomaru is shocked to see that the bullies trashed Osuke's sumo ring, who starts crying, thinking it's finally time to give up. This pisses Hinomaru off and he challenges the leader Yuma to a fight. Osuke warns Hinomaru that Yuma doesn't fight fair, but Hinomaru doesn't seem to care. Osuke tries reminding Hinomaru of the harsh reality, that he is too short to even become a professional sumo wrestler, so he should quit putting himself in danger for it. Hinomaru remembers his mother apologizing for giving her son the limited genetics. He gets upset, and seeing this, Osuke secretly tries begging the bullies to forgive Hinomaru. Yuma tells Osuke that he must give up ever practicing sumo again if he wants to protect his friend. As Osuke starts to agree, Hinomaru stops him and enters the dojo. Yuma declares that he must endure 10 minutes of full power punches from him if he wants to win. Word reaches the school students, and Yuma brings a full-powered fist to Hinomaru's face. To his shock, the punches do nothing, and Hinomaru stands his ground like a statue. Because of his sumo practice, Hinomaru is trained to never lose his balance and fall. After shaking off the punches like they were nothing, Hinomaru grins maniacally and makes his move. In just one hit, he destroys Yuma, silencing everyone. Osuke finally realizes that Hinomaru isn't a nobody. He was elementary school sumo champion strong enough to get the title of Onimaru, the demon sword. Yuma's gang gets mad at the loss, but he tells them that he has accepted his defeat. After getting the dojo for the sumo club, Hinomaru tells Osuke that he is determined to become a professional sumo wrestler and rise to the top, no matter what people think. The Odachi High now finally has a proper sumo club with its own dojo. Osuke is happy to start training but worried that nobody will join their club. Hinomaru reveals his secret plan, attracting students with his special stew recipe. Unfortunately, the stew tastes like trash because Hinomaru added a ton of protein powder into it. Osuke leaves to hand out some flyers, and Hinomaru gets an interested student, Chihiro, who likes the flavor. Hinomaru learns that Chihiro is a wrestler trying to become a pro MMA fighter. Chihiro also respects Hinomaru's sumo and leaves after inviting him to an exhibition match. At the exhibition match, the student council president Riina gets upset as the organizers praise Hinomaru for clearing out the delinquents. Hinomaru tells Osuke about Chihiro and learns that he is the strongest fighter at school, even stronger than Yuma. So Hinomaru goes to check out the exhibition match and see what he's made of. There, he sees Chihiro defeating a judo wrestler, so Hinomaru gets eager to fight, thinking that it would attract more students to the sumo club. Chihiro accepts the fight but claims that sumo is boring because the fights end if the wrestlers fall. He thinks that wrestling is much more hardcore because they fight to the end. Hinomaru retorts to this insult by saying he'll fight Chihiro with sumo rules, meaning that he will lose if he touches the ground with any other body part than his feet. To respect his challenge, Chihiro wears a belt to let Hinomaru grab him. The fight begins and Chihiro unleashes his special attacks. He is strong, but Hinomaru is able to stay on his feet. Chihiro thinks that Hinomaru is just a defensive fighter with no attack strategy, so he tries throwing him over his shoulder. Hinomaru survives the hit and instead counter-throws him hard onto the ground. Chihiro feels completely defeated and accepts his loss. He decides to join the sumo club to strengthen his core and learn new techniques for his MMA career. Riina gets more upset that Hinomaru is getting so much attention, and leaves after declaring that she will never forgive him. Everyone seems shocked that Hinomaru did something to Riina, but the poor guy doesn't even know who she is. Riina watches, frustrated as a shy guy named Kei also joined the sumo club. Her brother, Yuma, tells her that sumo is a respectable art and that he's going to stop being a bully and learn sumo to defeat Hinomaru as well. Like a total tsundere, he apologizes to Osuke for bullying him, who forgives him and accepts him into the sumo club. As the club prepares to start training, they get greeted by a strange man named Kirihito, who boldly tells them they have no chance of winning a tournament. As everyone gets enraged, Kirihito offers to train them to win. Everyone gets outraged that this random newcomer is acting like the boss. However, Kirihito tells them that he'll take them to practice against Aiga High School, one of the country's top 8 sumo clubs. Hinomaru then interrupts, reminding Kirihito that he left out an important detail. Kirihito is actually an elementary school friend of Hinomaru who used to practice sumo with him. Osuke gets excited that another strong wrestler will join them, but Kirihito remembers a bad memory and tells them that he'll just be a coach. Yuma gets upset about taking orders from a beginner, but Chihiro reminds him that he's a beginner himself anyway. With that, they end up at Aiga High. Riina starts yelling at Kirihito for making her brother hold bags, and Hinomaru wonders what she's doing with them. Chihiro calls her out for being a Brocken, and the Aiga wrestlers finally take them to their ring. Kei seems terrified of the big Aiga wrestlers, and he, Osuke, and Yuma all end up losing their practice fights. Before Chihiro's fight starts, Hinomaru notices a silver-haired kid and follows him out. Chihiro is strong enough to actually defeat his opponent, leaving Hinomaru to fight. However, Hinomaru is with the silver-haired guy, Shun, who tells a big man named Sasuke about Hinomaru. Sasuke refuses to fight, remembering that when he fought Hinomaru the last time, he broke his arm and ordered him to stop fighting and protect his opponents. Hinomaru is upset that Sasuke is quitting over a mistake in a rough sport, so he challenges Sasuke. However, the big man doesn't want to disobey his father, so Shun takes Sasuke's place instead. Shun is a similar size to Hinomaru, so he dives low to attack his legs. Hinomaru has a hard time gripping Shun, who catches his leg and forces him down to the ground. Instead of falling, Hinomaru uses his demon wheel to counter-throw him. However, Shun stands his ground and attacks Hinomaru in a tackle. It looks like Hinomaru's best techniques failed, but then Hinomaru combines his demon wheel and throw to flip around and slams Shun into the ground with one swift combo. This move finally shocks the watching Sasuke, who feels his spirit ignited by Hinomaru's strength. Hinomaru taunts Sasuke for being a coward instead of honoring his father's legacy as a Yokozuna. Sasuke finally gives in and prepares to fight him. He lunges at Hinomaru, blowing him back with his incredible strength. Then, Sasuke catches Hinomaru's arm in that same grip he used all those years ago. This time, though, Hinomaru bears the pain and moves in to shrug Sasuke off. Then, Sasuke attacks again, respecting Hinomaru as a worthy opponent. The two of them go all out with their special attacks, the 100 Demon Takedown and Great Serpent Cleaver. However, before the fight ends, a teacher interrupts the match to take Sasuke away. Sasuke feels strange that he got so excited and disobeyed his father. Hinomaru walks home, upset, knowing that if the fight had continued, he would have lost. Kirihito calms him down, though, saying that even if he is currently weak, he can train his technique and succeed with his signature reckless style. The next morning, Kirihito takes the guys out on a boat to harvest seaweed. Yuma wonders why they're out in the sea and learns that they're supposed to train their balance on the wobbly waters. Later, Kirihito recalls something that happened between him and Hinomaru. Hinomaru remembers that Kirihito criticized him for his passion despite not being tall enough to go pro. Kirihito feels guilty about telling him to stop but learns that Hinomaru never quit practicing. He met a Yokozuna named Yamato-kuni, who asked him why he kept his reckless style. Hinomaru pointed out that Yamato-kuni had the same style, and that he would stick to his choice no matter what happened. The Yokozuna told Hinomaru to train for 3 years and show him later if his decision changed. Kirihito has also changed his mind, thinking that Hinomaru can make it work. Hinomaru's friends also learn that he is too short to become a pro sumo wrestler, wondering if that's why he tries so hard. Once the boys get to the dojo, Kirihito proves that he is worthy of training them. He gives the scrawny K tips on how to defeat the other guys, and K is able to locate their weaknesses and defeat every one of them easily. They're all shocked and grow to respect Kirihito, but it's time for him to point out Hinomaru's weakness. Kirihito goes inside and changes into his sumo belt. Hinomaru gets serious, and the two of them begin an intense fight. Quickly, it comes down to final blows. Kirihito matches Hinomaru's combos, but to take it a step further, he performs a triple combo and manages to knock himself down with Hinomaru. Hinomaru is inspired after getting thrown to the ground, and everyone else finally respects Kirihito for his great strength. However, the dangerous move left Kirihito out of breath, and they learn that because of his weak lungs, Kirihito cannot practice high-intensity wrestling. That's why he won't be fighting in a tournament with them, because Kirihito also had a genetic weakness that prevented him from sumo wrestling. He was inspired by Hinomaru, who never gave up. That's why he wants to train Hinomaru and help him rise to the top. He explains that if Hinomaru can become an amateur high school champion, there is a chance that he can be recommended to the Pro Sumo League without passing the medical exam. Kirihito then requests to formally become their coach, and Osuke agrees, seeing his sincere desire. The group is all inspired by Kirihito's wisdom and strength, and they decide to become the best versions of themselves under his training to support Hinomaru in his dream of the top. One day, Rina is surprised to see her brother punching a ping pong ball. She learns that everyone in the club is doing special training because Kirihito is covering their weaknesses. Osuke is training to hold his breath and build stamina, while Chihiro is sharpening his footwork with a goldfish's movements. Yuma explains that Kirihito is trying his best to help them train even if he can't fight himself, so he respects him as a coach. After a few weeks of training, the boys are all stronger, so Kirihito decides to take them to practice with Ishigami High School. He sends Hinomaru away for some special training and leaves with the boys. Once they reach the high school, the boys are confronted by some thugs who are driven away by a charming gigachad named Sada. Then, they head in where they see the tough Ishigami school wrestlers. The captain of the club seems to look down on them, but then suddenly, Osuke catches a heavy tire running full speed at him. This earns him respect in the captain's eyes, and he takes them inside to practice. Meanwhile, back in Odachi, Chihiro stayed home because he had to study for a failed exam. He gets confronted by a weird guy named Genosuke. Genosuke thinks Chihiro is Onimaru and challenges him to a fight. However, he thinks Chihiro is weaker than the legendary Onimaru, so he gets up to leave. Chihiro doesn't take this insult and provokes him into a fight. Back to Ishigami, Yuma fights a big guy named Mamiya. The new club is confident they'll win, but Yuma is able to surprise Mamiya with his strikes. As Yuma prepares to take him down, Mamiya decides to take things seriously and brings him down to the ground. Meanwhile, back at Odachi, Genosuke and Chihiro get into a fight. Genosuke throws Chihiro over his shoulder, but he manages to land on his feet. Suddenly, Genosuke realizes that Chihiro is not nearly as short as Onimaru is supposed to be, and a teacher drives him off for trespassing on school territory. Next at Ishigami, Osuke enters the ring. The Chad Sada from earlier pops into the club and gets roped into the practice match. The kids don't think much of him but are shocked to learn that he is a middle school Yokozuna and a national sword level talent. Sada easily dodges all of Osuke's attacks, shocking everyone. Somehow, though, Osuke manages to grab him. Osuke doesn't give up and surprises Sada with his strength. However, Sada takes it seriously and easily throws the big guy with one arm, proving his strength as a national sword. He warns Kirihito that he's looking forward to fighting Hinomaru. Meanwhile, Hinomaru is excited to start training at a pro dojo, the Shibakiyama stable. Inside the stable, a girl named Saki sits with Master Shibakiyama. The master is excited to see the national sword Onimaru but almost doesn't believe it when the tiny Hinomaru shows up. The entire club is visibly disappointed, and one of the seniors gets ready to go easy and let the kid win. However, when Hinomaru runs the big man over like a train, everyone is shocked and silent. Back at the school, Kirihito explains that Shibakiyama was also a short monster who gave Yokozuna a run for his money. Back at the stable, the master recognizes Hinomaru's determination as he continues the hellish training without complaining. His spirit gets the curiosity of Shinoyama, a true pro wrestler. Hinomaru challenges him to a fight which he agrees to. However, Shinoyama is in a totally different league. In every bout, he knocks down Hinomaru in just one move. Hinomaru requests one more fight as Shinoyama starts leaving, saying that he needs his help to become a Yokozuna. Shinoyama gets serious, telling Hinomaru that he is insulting Sumo by claiming to become a Yokozuna with his tiny height. However, his insult only fuels Hinomaru's rage, and Shinoyama is intrigued. In his final battle, Hinomaru changes his strategy and lunges from a low stance. Shinoyama is shocked by his power as Hinomaru grabs his belt and throws him down. As everyone seems horrified that the pro wrestler will lose, Shinoyama manages to knock down Hinomaru, but not without having his knee forced down to the ground. This helps everyone realize Hinomaru's true potential. At night, Saki confronts Hinomaru and asks him if Shinoyama is stronger than Sasuke. Hinomaru doesn't know which one of them was actually stronger, showing just how strong the young talent Sasuke is. Master Shibakiyama also comes out to train Hinomaru, saying that he wants the short boy to fulfill his dream of becoming the first short Yokozuna. As Hinomaru gets done with his training at the stable, Saki also leaves with him. She thanks him for showing her a new side of the sumo world, but leaves after warning him that her brother, Tennoji, is actually the strongest high school sumo wrestler, the #1 young Yokozuna. A few months of training later, Osuke feels nervous about the upcoming preliminary matches for the national tournament. Hinomaru cheers him up, promising not to waste the club's hard work. As the matches start, the spectators seem pretty unimpressed by the small Odachi High School. Much to their surprise, the Odachi club dominates their fights and becomes a fan favorite, except for Kei, who is too weak to do anything. After winning their first match, the Odachi club gets paired against the Ishigami High School, and Sada challenges Hinomaru to fight him. For the first fight, it's Kei against another massive wrestler. Everyone thinks that he'll just get folded like before, but this time, Kei instant transmissions behind the man's leg. Remembering a strategy he discussed to win with Kirihito, Kei grabs his leg and tries to wrestle the man down. It almost works, but unfortunately, the opponent is too powerful and takes Kei down. As a disappointed Kei makes his way down, Chihiro remembers how useless Kei felt, like a paperweight being dragged around. Knowing how much Kei wanted to prove his worth, Chihiro gives him advice to grip the opponent with a better angle next time. He promises to win the next fight to avenge Kei and enters the ring. Once again, Chihiro and Genosuke face off in the ultimate MMA contest. Genosuke empties his mind and focuses on the win, while Chihiro focuses on avenging his teammate. Genosuke gains the upper hand with his laser focus and begins throwing Chihiro down. Chihiro wonders if he has gotten weaker because of his feelings and new training. However, he knows that's not true and decides to use his new strength as a sumo wrestler. In a shocking move, he turns Genosuke around in Hinomaru's demon wheel and defeats him in one move. The spectators wonder if wrestling is stronger than judo, but Coach Shibakiyama points out that Chihiro was just playing as a sumo wrestler and defeated Genosuke fair and square. Next up is Yuma, but before he can start his fight, the shocked Genosuke has yet to leave the ring. Yuma is up against the Ishigami captain. He thinks about using his new strength to knock the captain down, but the captain retaliates with his own strikes, shocking him. The captain knew that Yuma was better at striking than wrestling, so he counterattacked with the same strategy. His power forces Yuma back, and he feels helpless, realizing that his opponent is bigger, faster, and has the same strategy as him. He remembers begging his old karate teacher to train him again. His teacher never wanted to teach a bully again, but seeing him beg for the sake of his friends softened her heart, and she taught Yuma some special moves. Yuma puts those moves to use against the captain, and this time, his powerful blow knocks the captain off balance. Yuma prepares to go for the win, but the strong captain recovers and attacks again, finishing the battle with a big throw in the end. After Yuma's great performance, it's all up to Osuke. If he loses another round, the team will lose the best of 5 matches. Osuke's opponent knocks him down before the fight even starts, but this doesn't deter the captain. Osuke charges at him with even more determination, and everyone realizes that Sanada is taking him very seriously. Sanada had seen how Osuke continued practicing sumo as the only wrestler in school for over 2 years. He was scared of his determination and wanted to finish the fight quickly. Both fighters are evenly matched, hitting blow for blow and matching their grapples. However, Osuke's stamina and training start showing as Sanada slows down. He takes advantage of his great defense and starts forcing Sanada back. Sanada fights to the very end and tries taking down Osuke with him, both of them hitting the floor. To the West team's relief, Sanada hit the ground first, so Osuke won the round and revived their chances of winning the match. Next up is the final match between two young titans, Sada and Hinomaru. Sada makes his way and the fight starts explosively as Hinomaru strikes his throat. Sada then shakes off Hinomaru's attacks with his arm locks, and Hinomaru begins charging him with slap attacks. Sada feels excited about fighting a worthy opponent, but Hinomaru doesn't appreciate his enthusiasm. With a serious look on his face, Hinomaru is determined to only smile after defeating his opponent, forcing Sada to take him seriously. Hinomaru uses his demon wheel, which doesn't work. Eventually, he performs his legendary 100 demon takedown. This move finally throws Sada off balance. He remembers wanting to fight someone so strong, but Sada won't just be happy with competing. Determined to win, he recovers his stance, and everyone is forced to respect his raw strength. Having shaken off Hinomaru's legendary attack, Sada counterattacks, pinning Hinomaru's arm and throwing him down with his special crescent throw. Hinomaru remembers feeling so helpless, hating the world for cursing him with such a small body. He wonders if life truly is over for him, that he is destined to always be inferior to those born with better genetics. Hinomaru's entire life was dedicated to overcoming his natural failures and achieving his dream. At the final moment, he regains his footing and then kicks Sada with a headbutt. Hinomaru lunges for the kill, grabbing Sada's belt with an underhand grip. Sada tries to throw him off but misses, as Hinomaru tucks his body and with a full body swing. Even gripping Sada's leg with his own, Hinomaru smashes Sada into the ground, along with his team's hopes of qualifying for the nationals. Even Kirihito seems emotional about the win, but he scolds Hinomaru for being so careless with his hurt arm. At the Ishigami camp, Sada seems heartbroken because of his loss. He thinks that he failed his team and thinks about quitting, but his elders cheer him up, reminding him that this was the first time they had ever seen him so serious. They tell him that they'll leave the future of their club in his talented hands, cheering the youngster up once again. However, now that the team competition has ended, the individual sumo competition is also coming up. Hinomaru's display of power has inspired everyone, especially Chihiro, to fight the strongest and rise to the top. As the individual tournament begins, Chihiro and Hinomaru come face to face. Chihiro shows incredible ability, even copying Sada's one-arm throw. His techniques surprise Hinomaru and force him back. However, as Chihiro continues using other people's techniques, it's clear that they are just imitations and cannot be as strong as the real thing. Hinomaru, however, improvises at the last moment and throws Chihiro from under his thigh, ending the match. He goes to a corner to rest, hiding his injured arm from everyone else. Meanwhile, Kei loses another match. He seems disappointed, but Kirihito asks him to have faith in him. Seeing that his teacher believes in him, Kei leaves, hoping to win for his team in the nationals. Finally, it's time for Hinomaru to face off against Captain Osuke. Everyone notices Hinomaru avoiding his right arm, but the two wrestlers seem too engrossed to notice. This time, Osuke has no fear of Hinomaru, as he also wants to prove his strength. He withstands Hinomaru's demon wheel, deciding to wear him out through his stamina. Hinomaru pushes Osuke to the edge of the ring with all his might, but Osuke seems like an immovable mountain. It seems like Osuke won the battle of stamina, but it was just a bit too late as Hinomaru forced him outside the ring with the last of his strength. With the individual tournament over, everyone can start preparing for the nationals on a high note. After the sumo club qualifies for the nationals, all of a sudden the entire school starts cheering them on. Kirihito takes advantage of the attention and asks for a budget raise for the club's success. The kids wonder who told their school about the win since they were never popular, and a quiet girl named Hori shows up, revealing that she recorded videos of their fights and shared them with everyone. Inspired by them, she requests to become the sumo club's manager. This makes Riina jealous, and she demands that she also become a manager as well. Kirihito takes the opportunity and accepts both girls into the club before taking everyone out on a celebratory dinner. While sitting there talking, Hori finds Hinomaru looking at her and blushes before looking away. Riina is shocked upon realizing that Hinomaru is the person who truly inspired Hori. After emptying the restaurant owner's entire kitchen and getting banned from eating there ever again, everyone goes home. Once training gets back in session, Kirihito pairs up with Yuma to practice with Osuke. Yuma is unable to fight at full strength, and Osuke notices something wrong with him. Outside the dojo, Riina watches with worry, remembering how Hinomaru was concerned for her brother. Osuke asks Yuma what's wrong and learns that while Yuma is really enjoying his time at the sumo club, he feels guilty because he bullied Osuke all those years and doesn't deserve to enjoy sumo with him. To his surprise, Osuke had already forgiven him. Osuke tells him he knows how sincere he is, and he appreciates his desire to practice sumo with the rest. In his mind, he had already forgiven Yuma and didn't know he would be so worried about it. Once Yuma is relieved, Hinomaru sneaks back out and enters the dojo from the front door to start training as usual. Later at night, Hinomaru watches some videos of the current champ Tennoji, worried about how he can even train for this monster. Luckily, Master Shibakiyama bails them out by calling them to train in another city with top-level pro wrestlers. Once everyone is there, half the group splits out to eat while the other half goes to visit a historic castle. At the castle, Hinomaru gets excited to see an actor sumo wrestler and decides to battle him. However, some strange guy gets in his way and provokes him into a fight. The strange man is very strong, but Hinomaru gets him into his special move. However, he feels something wrong as the man just allows him to grab his body, a terrifying glint in his eyes. Sensing it's a trap, Hinomaru doesn't attack, and the man's teammates come to drag him away from the fight. As they leave with mocking words, the man thinks that Hinomaru is just a coward who is afraid to see his best technique get destroyed by him. It turns out that this special talent was Tenma, one of the strongest young talents. Hinomaru feels depressed that his move is so weak, but Shinoyama takes him to train at the pro camp. There, none of the pro wrestlers accept the little kid joining their ranks, so Hinomaru challenges them to a fight. One of the pros fights Hinomaru, but somehow, he perfectly executes his 100,000 demon takedown, taking the pro by surprise and actually defeating him. Hinomaru is relieved that his technique isn't useless after all, but then suddenly, as the girls secretly watch them from a distance with an old man, every other sumo pro destroys Hinomaru's technique without a problem. He realizes they were all mocking him and feels crushed. Hinomaru wonders how to get out of this mess, but then the old man comes in. He offers to train Hinomaru, much to the envy of all other pros. The old man also calls Reina with him and takes the two kids to his house. Hinomaru wonders why the old man is interrupting their training, but the man asks him if he would like to practice with unsuccessful pros or a former Yokozuna who reached the top of the sumo world. As Reina and Hinomaru leave, Tenma also shows up to train with the pros. Meanwhile, Hinomaru gets ordered to get the old man's shunkai a food dish with just $1 and half an hour. He is unable to make a good dish, and the old man just makes him do more chores around the house. Reina wonders if he's just using them to do chores, but then at night, the old man asks Hinomaru to use his technique against his apprentice. Hinomaru's technique catches the man off guard who loses, but then he figures it out and easily defeats Hinomaru. Hinomaru keeps trying for a while, but the old man ends it after his failures. Later at night, the old Shunkai's apprentices laugh at Hinomaru. They think that the old man was just able to train two gifted individuals into Yokozuna because they already had that talent, and Hinomaru will just become one of the countless others who gave up and left his training. Hinomaru hears this and feels upset, but the old man scolds his students for laughing at someone who is trying their best. Reina asks him why he doesn't just tell Hinomaru the solution to fix his technique, but the old man points out that this would temporarily help him but leave him helpless to figure out a problem on his own. As Hinomaru continues his training, back at the pro camp, Tenma learns that he's receiving training under the old man. He gets jealous of Hinomaru and leaves to check it out. Later at night, Reina freaks out as the old man talks to her from outside her bath. He asks her if she likes Hinomaru, which makes her feel exposed, but then Reina realizes that the old man was just talking about Hinomaru's passion for sumo. She tells him that she felt bad for him as his manager and just wanted to help out. After she leaves the bath, she finds Hinomaru with a stack of all the market sales for the next day. She sighs, reminding him that he could have just checked everything through her smartphone. Hinomaru is amazed by the ability of smartphones, but then he realizes something and praises Reina for her help. Later, Tenma shows up and harasses the old man to teach him. The old man refuses, so Tenma challenges Hinomaru to a fight to prove his strength. Hinomaru accepts and they begin their bout. Tenma takes the fight seriously this time. Without letting Hinomaru touch him, he drives him to the edge of the ring with his powerful blows. Hinomaru tries using his 100,000 demon throw to defeat Tenma, but he easily predicts it and stops Hinomaru's leg from moving. However, this was just a trap from Hinomaru as he uses another throw to shake Tenma off balance. Using this to his advantage, Hinomaru unleashes his full power move. Already knowing what's going to happen, Tenma gets thrown straight to the ground, defeated convincingly. After winning his fight, Hinomaru also smiles as a delivery man shows up with the old man's requested dish. All he had to do was use the $1 coin to make a phone call and order the food for the old man to pay himself. The old man laughs, pleased that his student passed his exam with flying colors. As a reward, he calls a real Yokozuna to spar with Hinomaru. Even the man's aura alone terrifies Hinomaru, who is defeated in less than 5 seconds. But the fight leaves an inspiring impact on him. Meanwhile, the Odachi camp is continuing its training. Kirihito notices that Osuke is still not very confident in the ring, so Chihiro takes Osuke and Hori out to boost his confidence. He takes him to Tenma's high school, Kita, to practice sumo. However, the Kita wrestlers look down on them, saying they are seriously trying their best for the tournament, and have no interest in playing around. A dejected Osuke leaves with Chihiro but realizes he cannot take the insult lying down. He runs back to the school and announces that Odachi High School is also a serious competitor, and they'll try their best to win the tournament. The captain of Kita smiles as Osuke leaves, already having respect in his heart for this new rival. Back to the Shibakiyama stable, Kei grows stronger and stronger under the old master's guidance. He feels grateful because the old master is a much better teacher than Kirihito, but the poor guy just gets depressed for being inferior. Kei thanks Kirihito to cheer him up, saying he is the one who has brought their team this far. Then, he asks the old master to spar with Kirihito, shocking him. Kei has faith that Kirihito can still fight for their team with his small stamina, so he wants the master to train him just in case they need his help. He also knows just how much Kirihito enjoys sumo, so in a thoughtful gesture, he wants him to compete as well. The fight begins and Kirihito attacks bravely. Against the old master's experience, he is unable to quickly defeat him and soon runs out of breath. Even so, in front of their shocked eyes, Kirihito uses the last of his strength to flip around the old master and throw him down, showing just how capable he is. Meanwhile, Osuke performs in public to thicken his skin and gain confidence, while Chihiro seeks Sada's help for training. Hinomaru, on the other hand, watches an interview of the current star, Tennoji. He knows that the legendary Yokozuna Jino, who destroyed him with one move, has also trained Tennoji. The star's confidence shines through the TV, and Hinomaru knows he needs to give it all he has to even stand a chance of winning. He visits his late mother's grave to pay his respects and finally enters the National High School Sumo Tournament with his team. As the individual sumo competition starts, Hinomaru's dream is on the line. In the electrifying arena, he shows his top form and defeats all his opponents, until his very next hurdle in his way is the demon Tennoji. Tennoji is interviewed before the match, where he reveals that he also used to be small like Hinomaru until he grew up late. That's why he'll give it his all out of respect to defeat his opponent. Even the old Shunkai is nervous but knows that if anyone has the chance of defying nature, and all odds, it's Hinomaru with his unwavering spirit and attitude. The two wrestlers enter the ring, and Tennoji immediately charges at Hinomaru, dragging him to the edge. Hinomaru tries gripping Tennoji to throw him away, but Tennoji predicts it and changes the grip. Then, Hinomaru tries hitting Tennoji to shake him off, but he has already prepared and easily shrugs off his strike. It turns out that Tennoji is not just a cocky idiot. He gains his confidence by analyzing all of his opponent's matches and preparing in advance. However, Hinomaru refuses to give up and continues trying one move after the other, doing his very best to win. Tennoji is unable to predict his next move, as Hinomaru shakes him off balance to prepare for his 100,000 demon throw. Tennoji grasps at Hinomaru's belt but is unable to shake him off. Just as it looks like Hinomaru is going to send him flying, Tennoji uses Hinomaru's own right arm throw, and avoids the throw. Hinomaru charges again to make Tennoji push forward, but he uses his own force to grab him and throw him from the side. As everyone thinks Hinomaru has finally done it, Tennoji makes his move, already ready for Hinomaru's relentless assault. Tennoji is forced to respect his small contender, someone who forced his way out of so many small situations. Even still, he is determined to succeed in his dream, so he uses his full power and drives down Hinomaru with his own 6-point strike. As Hinomaru goes down, he glares straight into Tennoji's eyes and drags him down with him. In the end, after fighting desperately to the bitter end, Hinomaru was just short of getting Tennoji and hit the ground, losing and sealing his dream of bypassing professional standards and becoming a pro by recommendation. Hinomaru goes back to his team, still cheerful about the team competition. However, Osuke forbids him from fighting with them, exposing his injured arm. He tells Hinomaru to visit the hospital, saying that the team will handle the tournament. Hinomaru gets emotional, wanting to fight alongside his brothers, but Osuke tells him that the team will do their best for his dream. He reveals that for the past few years, sumo talent has been so high that there are multiple students chosen for the Pro League. If their team can win the tournament and fight Tennoji again, there is still a chance Hinomaru can go pro. With the support of his reliable team, Hinomaru allows himself to cry, still hopeful to see it to the end. Shibakiyama takes Hinomaru to a good doctor, who is apparently just an old creep. The old man tells Hinomaru to go away, saying he's too short to become a pro sumo wrestler so he doesn't need his advanced treatment anyway. Hinomaru begs him, saying his team is waiting to fight with him. The old man wonders why Hinomaru is even trying since he thinks they're too weak to win against Kita High School. Hinomaru is flabbergasted and realizes he wasn't worried at all about losing. Rather, he is completely confident they'll win and just wants to fight alongside him. His confidence rattles the old man, who realizes the kid is serious. He takes Hinomaru to his basement, which is a surprisingly advanced treatment facility. The old man leads Hinomaru to a strange machine, saying it'll fix his injury enough to compete. Meanwhile, at the tournament, Osuke defeats the Kita captain, while Yuma crushes his opponent with a relentless assault, winning the first round. With 2 losses, the Kita team is looking bleak, but their star, Tenma, steps up to give them a new life. Against Tenma, Chihiro steps up. The common viewer thinks Chihiro has no chance, but both Sada and Hinomaru know just how talented he is. The fight begins, and Tenma immediately overpowers Chihiro with his massive frame. He forces him back with powerful strikes, leaving everyone shocked and hopeless. However, Chihiro absorbs the hits and shakes him off, grinning like an excited maniac at this learning opportunity. He lunges and smacks Tenma's face, trying to grab his belt, but Tenma grapples him back. Tenma feels the pressure, knowing that everyone has high hopes for him. He remembers looking down on his older brother for only maintaining his rank and never defeating a Yokozuna, only to learn how much pressure his brother was under, yet he never quit trying. Tenma knows that he was just bitter because he also felt scared of Tenaji's strength, but he needs to clear his mind and give it his all if he wants to win. He shakes off Chihiro and begins a counterattack. Tenma pulls Chihiro down by his neck, but Chihiro steps down and headbutts into Tenma's chest. As he grips under Tenma's arm, the big guy finally feels fear. Sweeping under him to lift Tenma's entire body above, Chihiro slams down the national sword, winning the round and the entire match for Odachi High School. Everyone is shocked that Chihiro just made up his final technique out of instinct, and the genius celebrates his first victory against a truly powerful opponent. With his team on to the next match, Hinomaru also returns, rested and ready to rumble. The Kita team is devastated, losing 3-0. Even Tenma starts crying, saying that he wants to make the last year of sumo with his seniors a special occasion. His seniors recognize his sincere emotions and they all cry, sharing the bitterness of defeat and a special memory together. As the Odachi team is in high spirits, Tenaji's side is still unbothered as ever, fully confident in their abilities. In the next match, Hinomaru's team sends up Kei for the first round, who unsurprisingly loses to his first opponent. They win the rest of the rounds, but another match begins. Before his match, Tenaji taunts Sasuke that just being the son of a Yokozuna won't be enough to win the fight against him. When his match starts, Tenaji's teammates dominate the enemy team, proving their status. It seems like Odachi has no chance against them, but Sada and his team decide to train them. It turns out that they had secretly trained with the Tottori team and are willing to help Hinomaru succeed, as real rivals and well-wishers. Sada also thinks that if Hinomaru's team can defeat Tottori High School, then they can make their own strategy for them in the future. As the matches continue, Tenaji finds himself facing off against Aiga's strongest, Sasuke. As the two giants fight, Shunkai asks Hinomaru what plan he has to defeat Tenaji, who has already beaten him. Hinomaru says that he still has an inner strength he can tap into and prepares to show it off. Meanwhile, Tenaji and Sasuke collide in an intense match. This time, Tenaji attacks much more recklessly instead of his previous calculated style. His desperation to win shows how much he fears and respects Sasuke as an enemy, pulling out all the stops to end this beast. Sasuke is able to force away Tenaji with a strike, but he dives under him and punches back. With a slam in the chest, Tenaji forces back Sasuke with a powerful blow, leaving him gasping for breath. Tenaji takes advantage of his upper hand to finish the match, but Sasuke calmly grabs his belt. Tenaji realizes that the win won't be easy, and he unleashes his most powerful strike against Sasuke's style. As Hinomaru finishes his training, Kirihito shows up with the final results of this incredible match. Rolling the tape, they find that Tenaji truly is a talented monster, taking the son of a Yokozuna so far. But in the end, Sasuke manages to force him out of the ring with his incredible strength, proving that he isn't just a Yokozuna's son in name. With the winner determined, it's clear that Hinomaru has not won, but two massive demons to defeat if he wants to rise to the top with his team. It's finally time for Hinomaru to face off against Tenaji's team. First up, Osuke decides to start the match with an explosive start. More determined than ever, he forces back the other fighter Inoki. Inoki is a smaller kid who once thought about quitting sumo, but Tenaji encouraged him to keep going and use his Aikido martial arts to complement his sumo. Because of the favor Tenaji did, Inoki is determined to be useful to his friend. He throws Osuke down with his body weight, but Osuke fights back. It looks like the captain's efforts are paying off, but at the very end of it all, Inoki manages to take the big man down. Starting off with Osuke's loss, Kei feels the pressure to win his fight. He knows that he can't defeat his massive opponent with his pitiful strength or skills, so he has to use some dirty tactics to win. Before the match even starts, K charges straight at his enemy. Only, he doesn't stop after the first time. After doing it again and again, K knows that even the referee is angry at him. However, he remains determined to get at least one win, no matter what, even if it means everyone including his teammates hates him, to prove that he is not useless. So when the match starts, K unexpectedly walks away from his opponent in a show of the greatest disrespect. This finally makes the big man lose control, and he charges to grab him, only to realize that K disappeared from his sight. This gives K the opportunity to reverse behind him and take him down from behind. But the enemy grabs him and goes down with him. In the end, somehow against all odds, K's determination results in a victory, and he rightfully celebrates with a powerful scream. Unfortunately, after the initial celebration, the referees discussed it and announced the match as a tie since both opponents fell down together. With his original strategy now useless, K has lost all his strength. He easily gets defeated by his opponent, ending his ambitions and wishing to win one round for the team. As a disappointed K returns to his team, Chihiro steps up to fight. He hears his opponent's insults, but firmly defends K. Chihiro knows just how much K has been struggling to train despite his weak body and lack of skills. He respects how much mental toughness K had to get hated by everyone just to be useful for his team, and he is not going to take disrespect for his teammate lying down. The fight begins and Kano charges at Chihiro. However, Chihiro pushes him back, using Tenma's flurry technique. Then, Chihiro switches to Tenma's head chop, knocking Kano down. As he's losing, Kano starts getting flashbacks of his sumo journey. Having always lost to Tenauji, he was always happy to just be the second strongest and support him in his dream. This led to his spirit for the sport being weakened. But still, Kano is proud to fight for the sake of his team. He raises his head up once again and headbutts Chihiro away. Kano grabs Chihiro and attempts to wrestle him down, but Chihiro fights back, also holding him. Ignoring his usual risky style, Chihiro pushes forward with brutal strength. He knows this isn't very flashy, but K's determination to win no matter what has inspired Chihiro, so he does his best to win with the best possible technique. His determination to avenge his teammate K pulls through and Chihiro forces his opponent out, defeating one more national sword. Now it was Yuma's turn to go up against his Mongolian opponent Batmonk. Unfortunately, Yuma is too nervous that he'll mess up and ruin everyone's chances of success. Hinomaru cheers him up with a pat on the back, telling him to relax and go fight for himself. With his captain's encouragement, Yuma feels ready to face his powerful opponent and give his team a fighting chance. Batmonk starts off strong, unleashing a barrage of attacks on Yuma. However, the karate master refuses to back down, showing off his own striking prowess. His counterattacks surprise Batmonk, who is forced to recognize his enemy's power. Batmonk thinks that Yuma is inferior to him, though, because he faced discrimination as a foreign student and had to fight his way to the top to earn a spot in the school's sumo team. His attacks grow more powerful and he drives Yuma back. Preparing to end the match, he grabs at Yuma's belt, but Yuma predicts it and catches his wrist. Yuma tries a 3-point takedown on Batmonk to end it, but he survives the attack. Yuma then throws off Batmonk and unleashes one more volley of furious punches. He punches his Batmonk square in the chest this time, forcing him to the edge of the arena. Yuma continues pummeling him, pushing forward, determined to make up for the years of bullying he subjected Osuke to. Wanting to help the captain, he is able to make it to the very end and only stops once his opponent has been punched clean outside of the ring, ending the match in a victory. Yuma's teacher, who has been nervously watching, weeps tears of joy and relief, and everyone bursts into tears at the former delinquent's redemption. Although Yuma has won his round, the fate of Odachi High School now depends on Hinomaru's rematch against the fearsome Tenauji. Tenauji knows that his teammate is feeling down with the pressure of the match and his loss to Sasuke, so he cheers everyone up, telling them he's grateful to get another chance to redeem himself. After raising their morale, he steps up to the stage, determined not to make his previous mistake again. However, Hinomaru is also returning after a loss, his desire to prove his haters wrong even stronger than ever. After his 2 days of training with Sada's team, Hinomaru is stronger than ever before, but so is Tenauji after learning from his previous loss. Both wrestlers get into form and the match begins. Hinomaru tries to throw Tenauji down, but Tenauji predicts it and locks his arm. However, Hinomaru predicts that as well and counterattacks, but so does Tenauji. It turns out that both of these freakish talents have studied each other's moves and are matching each other blow for blow. Hinomaru knows that if he wants to win the fight, his only option is to exceed all of Tenouji's expectations. Unfortunately for him, Tenouji is like a beast unleashed. His attacks are too powerful, leaving no opening for Hinomaru to attack. Hinomaru backs away to get a better position, making others doubt his spirit. Having always charged head-on, has Hinomaru suddenly lost confidence in his own style? But that's not what happens, as Hinomaru just takes the chance to charge again with a more powerful momentum. Hinomaru is able to reach Tenouji and grab his belt. He begins shaking him around and performing the 100,000 takedowns, but somehow Tenouji even expected that move. Despite Tenouji's unshaken resolve, Hinomaru puts his faith into the technique and shakes Tenouji with even more force, believing in the ultimate technique he perfected with the help of his friends and teachers. But right as Hinomaru launches the perfected 100,000 drop, Tenouji slams from behind his neck, grinning like a maniac. It looks like Tenouji is about to throw down Hinomaru with his own body weight, but then suddenly, Hinomaru grabs his leg and regains his footing. Under everyone's shocked eyes, Hinomaru performs the most powerful final throw and smashes Tenouji into the ground along with his team's hopes of becoming champions. With this monumental victory, Hinomaru screams in celebration with the rest of his team. Tenouji walks back, disappointed but not disheartened. He lets his teammates cry out their frustrations, remembering that even after celebrating his victory, Hinomaru bowed to apologize to him out of respect. Tenouji leaves with a smile, knowing he can't blame his opponent at all for celebrating such a huge win. Now, only one battle remains, and it's with Sasuke's Aiga High School. After the win, the team deflates, happy to have defeated the current champions. They feel like whether they lose or win now, it doesn't matter since Hinomaru overcame Tenouji. However, Riina has a problem with this attitude and calls them out for becoming cowardly. She reminds them that it's not guaranteed that Hinomaru will get to the Pro League just yet, and they can't just give up on their own dreams for Sumo. With her encouragement, everyone regains their spirit for the final battle against Aiga High. Before the final match, the Odachi school has a run-in with Aiga High. The big guys from Aiga taunt Odachi, noticing that their friend Kei got injured and isn't present. Before the fight starts, everyone waits with bated breath. Sada knows that Aiga High is in a stronger position since they haven't used their full strength, so Odachi has to be careful. The first match is an unexpected face-off between Chihiro and Hyoto, who is actually his older brother. Chihiro explains that his parents are divorced and Hyoto went on to live with this separated dad. All his life, Chihiro had been bullied by his older brother who took his stuff and used it, so he goes into the fight with personal vengeance. Chihiro starts using his inspired techniques like the flash attack, but unfortunately for him, Hyoto also has his genius-level talent as a fighter. He counters his techniques with ease with a smile, and Chihiro gets more and more furious as the fight goes on. Chihiro thinks his brother is just playing, but when he notices the strength of his muscles and his physique, he realizes that Hyoto takes sumo very seriously and dedicates himself to training, unlike anything else he has ever done before. To fight back, Chihiro decides to use a new strategy, the headbutt. Hyoto meets his headbutts head-on, but because Chihiro didn't train the headbutt usually, he is too weak in the position and gets forced back. Even so, with Kei's motivation, Chihiro's spirit blazes with the will to fight back. Chihiro unleashes a wrestling move to take down Hyoto, but unfortunately, Hyoto is also familiar with wrestling, so he predicts it, locks Chihiro, and forces him down to the ground. Chihiro lies frustrated that his brother won once again, but he is unable to get angry since he lost an all-out fight fair and square. Next up for the fight, Kei is unable to show, so in his place, with Kei's motivation, Kirihito decides to bare his fangs. Kirihito's opponent gets shocked when the calm man charges straight into him. Kirihito tries to finish off the match as quickly as possible so his lungs don't tire out, but on such a big stage, his opponent is too strong to manhandle so easily. Still, with some skilled technique, Kirihito manages to push his opponent out of the ring before he gets too exhausted. His opponent notices him panting for air, but unfortunately, the judges signal a tie. Thus, Kirihito now has to fight another match. Everyone feels hopeless, knowing how weak Kirihito's body is. Despite that, though, Hinomaru doesn't recall Kirihito, knowing that he hasn't gotten enough of the stage yet. Kirihito gets back inside, and this time, he feels more pumped than ever. His opponent notices how terrifying Kirihito's focused stare looks, but he decides to do his best to drag out the fight. Before he can even move, though, Kirihito has already charged over and twisted him around in a spiral throw, ending the match decisively in just 5 seconds. Kirihito basks in the glory of winning on the stage and returns to his team, happy. Next up, it's Yuma against the captain of Aiga High. Yuma starts off by retreating and charging for one powerful karate strike, pummeling the shocked captain. Once he has worn the captain down, Yuma unleashes his defense breaker strike into the captain's face, but he takes this chance to grab his wrist. Right in the middle, the judges stop the fight, and the captain plugs up his leaking nose with some tissues. The fight resumes, and Yuma tries giving it his all to wrestle the captain down. However, the strong man actually lifts Yuma overhead. Hinomaru tells Yuma to struggle out of his grip, which Yuma successfully manages after a hard struggle. However, despite Yuma's valiant efforts, the captain manages to push Yuma down to the ground after surpassing all his own limits. With 2 losses on their hand, both the captain Osuke and Hinomaru have to win their fights if they want to win the team tournament. Osuke faces off against Daniel, a blonde foreigner who had to fight his way to the top just like Batmonk. Despite being a foreigner, Daniel's passion for sumo is no less than Osuke's, and the two clash, beginning their final fight. Daniel unleashes a left arm lock just like Yokozuna Yamada-kuni, but Osuke realizes that the move is actually from Daniel's practice with Sasuke. It turns out that Sasuke was initially not welcome at his school club. Daniel, who is a weak foreigner, was also bullied by the rest, so he took to becoming friends with Sasuke. Sasuke would allow him to practice together, and the two of them quickly grew stronger and rose to the top of the school club. Both Osuke and Daniel try their best to grab the other and wrestle him down, neither backing down a single inch. As Daniel uses Sasuke's signature move, Osuke realizes that he's different from him. While he loves and adores his friend Hinomaru, Osuke treats him like a rival, not an idol, and through his efforts, he is able to defeat Hinomaru only once during practice. Knowing this gives Osuke the confidence that he is his own sumo wrestler, not a prop for his team's ace to succeed. With his raw passion for sumo, Osuke roars and takes down Daniel, leaving the final match up to Hinomaru and Sasuke. Before going up to the ring, Hinomaru thanks all of his teammates for their motivation, struggles, and advice that helped him reach the ultimate stage. Hinomaru goes to the ring and sits down in front of Sasuke. Sasuke calms his heart down, focusing purely on his sumo match. However, Hinomaru calls him out to face the roaring cheers of the audience, hoping that the sounds would reach the heavens into his late mother's ears. Hinomaru starts the fight with a low spider stance, and the two rivals finally clash to finish their duel that started all the way back in Aiga. Hinomaru starts off strong, forcing Sasuke to the edge with powerful strikes. However, Sasuke is not so easily defeated, as with just one punch, he pushes Hinomaru away, hard and fast. Sasuke knows that in order to become a Yokozuna against someone as insane as Hinomaru, he's going to have to go beyond his limits and fight like a complete machine. Hinomaru also grabs onto Sasuke's belt, preparing to unleash his final move that has been perfected after so much effort and tears. Sasuke remembers that even his father the Yokozuna lost his title. After his father lost, he spent all his time training to become just like him. His father never got angry because of his loss and let his son do whatever he wanted. As Sasuke grew bigger and stronger, people began to alienate him, mocking him for being a privileged boy. However, he got where he is today through sheer hard work and discipline. At present, Sasuke finds himself in a deadlock with Hinomaru. Everyone notes that if the fight turns into a battle of stamina, the smaller Hinomaru will run out of gas first. Hinomaru almost feels like giving up, but then he remembers his late mother's wishes. Even though his mom always used to cheer him up, she secretly felt guilty that her son was so small because of her genetics. That's why Hinomaru tried so hard to succeed in sumo, to prove the haters about his body wrong, and to relieve his mother of the guilt by becoming the best sumo wrestler in the world. Regaining his spirit to fight, Hinomaru charges at Sasuke once again with a smile. He locks onto Sasuke's body and pushes with all his might with an intensity that can't be stopped. However, Sasuke is also very powerful and grabs Hinomaru in an underarm grip. Hai throws him down with his famous serpent cleaver, but Hinomaru edges it out and charges back at Sasuke again. Watching his undying confidence and determination, Riina falls in love with Hinomaru's spirit. She thanks Hori for getting her attached to the club, knowing that in the past, she just made fun of sumo and would never have appreciated the sport. Somehow, Hinomaru grabs Sasuke once again and begins shaking him for his final move. Sasuke realizes he is in danger, but he isn't going to quit either. In an attempt to surpass his father, Sasuke unleashes a new technique and slams into Hinomaru, or who he thought was Hinomaru. It turns out, somehow Hinomaru ducked under the blow and latched onto Sasuke with an iron grip. Hinomaru finally performs his classic demon throw, but right at the final moment, His injured arm gives out, as it looks like Hinomaru's body will betray him. He refuses to let it take the win away, forces his arm into the throw, and strikes down Sasuke with the small, powerful body he is so proud of. Everyone cries with tears of joy. Yamado-kuni feels happy that even his talented son experienced the taste of defeat, a valuable lesson for the future. Hinomaru knows his dream hasn't come true yet, but it's very close to becoming a reality. Yamado-kuni greets him and thanks him for listening to his advice. He gives Hinomaru the good news that he'll recommend him to the Pro Sumo League and let him compete for his dream. Hinomaru thanks the expert wrestler for this great chance. As Odachi High School finishes their final match as champions, everyone goes their separate ways. Time goes on, and Hinomaru faces Tenouji in an official tournament again. He loses the match gracefully but gets the qualification to go pro. Eventually, Hinomaru has to drop out of high school to succeed in his dream career, so his friends reunite one last time in a homemade sumo ring to give him the farewell he deserves. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe the channel for more plot-filled recaps.